So, as we gather here virtually today from all across the Ottawa region, we acknowledge that we are located on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Algonquin people, and we recognize their long-standing relationship with this land, which remains unceded.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy.
And I'm Ryan.
And we are students in grade 12 at Hillcrest High School. We are members of our school's rugby team, and we are very excited to be here with Mr. Nybogi's phys ed class, as well as everyone viewing this broadcast over our live stream to interview World Rugby Hall of Famer and Hillcrest High School alumni, Al Charron.
Welcome, Al. Thanks for being with us today.
Pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Before we begin, please note that at any time, viewers may send us questions for our guest, Al Charron, using the Q&A function, or for our live streamers, the link to a Google form. We will do our very best to ask as many questions as we can.
Also, a reminder that this meeting is being recorded for future publication to the NCSSAA YouTube channel.
We're going to begin with the following video biography that highlights Al's amazing career and accomplishments in the sport of rugby.
Al Charron, one of the most dominant rugby players of his time, is Canada's all-time caps leader after suiting up as a starter in 76 appearances for his country, including 25 times as captain, a Canadian record he shares with Gareth Rees. Charron made his test debut against Argentina in 1990 and made his final appearance at the 2003 Rugby World Cup against Tonga. Charron played in 4 Rugby World Cups and went to a 5th as part of a management team. He was a member of the inaugural Rugby World Cup 7 squad in 1993 and also played in the famous Hong Kong 7 on 3 occasions. He is the only Tier 2 player to have scored test tries against New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa. Over his distinguished career, Charron also made 5 appearances for the famed British Barbarians and also suited up as part of the World 15 squad that faced Argentina to celebrate their centenary anniversary in 1999. Charron played for Bristol, Moseley, POW, and US Dax overseas and domestically suited up for the Ottawa Irish Rugby Club, where he helped them win multiple provincial championships across the McCormick Cup and Sevens leagues. He also won national championships with Ontario and the English Division II Championship with Bristol. Charron has been inducted into the Eastern Rugby Ontario Hall of Fame, Ontario Rugby Hall of Fame, Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame, and is recognized as being one of the top 100 athletes to come from Ottawa. Rugby Canada's newly announced training facility, located in Langford, BC, will be named the Al Charron Rugby Canada National Training Centre.
So Al, with all your amazing accomplishments, we know that you started at Hillcrest, and as a Hillcrest alumni, could you tell us a little bit about your experience playing on the rugby team and how it might have shaped your career?
I certainly was introduced to rugby just by the phys ed class. I didn't actually start playing for the school team until grade 12. Back then it was up to grade 13. So I played the last 2 years of my high school career and enjoyed it immensely. I wish I had started earlier, but I was playing baseball, which was the same season as rugby. And as I've mentioned many times before, I wasn't the best of students as far as concentration goes. And my father, who was a teacher at Lisgar High School, said you had to pick one sport. And so baseball won out initially, and then eventually got into rugby and never looked back from there. And very grateful to the likes of Mr. Rick Pollock for telling me to get involved, and it's been a lifetime passion since then, and certainly from my coaches back then at Hillcrest as well. They certainly helped me along, Stu Robinson and Dan as well.
All right, and in the video, it said you played for the Ottawa Irish. What made you choose the Ottawa Irish over the Bytown Blues or any other rugby club in Ottawa?
Well, most schools around Ottawa are affiliated with one rugby club or another. And fortunately for me, Hillcrest was associated with the Ottawa Irish at the time. And Ottawa Irish was a very strong side that had a lot of great players playing for them for They had represented Canada or Eastern Ontario or Ontario, in some cases Quebec as well. So joining a club like that with so much talent, you couldn't help but get better by just playing and training beside them. And that was the reason why I joined the Ottawa Irish, and I'm forever grateful for the link between Hillcrest and the Ottawa Irish. And the guys that I play with are still very close friends to this day. I'm still associated with the club, but there's guys from my high school that went on to play for the Ottawa Irish, and then guys from across Ottawa, but from across the world that come to play for the club.
And so we know that British Columbia tends to dominate a lot of the spots on the national team. So how did it feel being one of the few to represent Ottawa at the World Cup and also just internationally in general?
That's certainly when I first broke into the national side. It was dominated by BC players. It's not so much now. It's a better representation of players from across multiple provinces. And that's great to see. But certainly BC deserved to have the players that they had on there before. It was a very strong province as far as rugby goes. And it was an honor to, it's an honor to play for Canada, obviously, but it certainly was an honor to represent Ontario and certainly Ottawa. And by virtue of my high school team and my club team, representing Canada in the World Cup. So it was tough competition for sure. There were guys that were used to playing with other guys from BC that they're familiar with. So to break into a squad that was very solid, and they were solid players, it was tough, but it was certainly gratifying to do so. I think I deserved my spot. I think I earned my spot. It wasn't based on politics for me getting there. I think I had a chance to play. It came through, my play from playing provincial rugby and national championships. But you still have to make that next step to Canada. When I did get that opportunity, I'm very grateful for the fact that things worked out well for me, and I really never looked back after that. So I do owe a lot to my teammates with the Ottawa Irish, my Ontario teammates, but certainly my teammates on the Canadian side that welcomed me to the side, and got to play against some great players, but got to play beside some great players that will go down in history as some of the best ever played for Canada.
Now, what do you think were your greatest strengths that made you such an incredible athlete?
Well, I don't think I'm an incredible athlete. I think I'm a good athlete, but I was a big competitor. I asked a lot of myself. So I think one of my biggest strengths was I got around the field very well for a big man. I think my cardio was at the time was outstanding for a player of my size. I don't think it was as common for a person of my stature to get around the field like I did. I think that helped me certainly get looked at, but I also knew once I made it, I had to continue those performances. So I trained really hard to make sure that I was always around the ball, and well, that's what I wanted to do anyway. In any sport, you want to be around where the action is. And if I want to, if I go a few steps earlier than that, as far as rugby goes, growing up in my neighborhood in the Lakers, obviously it's a Hillcrest. I grew up on Western Drive. I was always the youngest and probably the shortest, certainly the smallest guy playing the ball hockey and tackle football and baseball and basketball. And if I wanted to be asked back, I had to certainly step up my game. And so when we were playing tackle football, which was essentially rugby without equipment, I learned real quickly that I enjoyed tackling, and I loved hitting the bigger guys and the older guys, and that certainly paid dividends for me down the road when I started playing rugby, and certainly I actually grew a lot also. So I had the mentality that I liked contact, and so Being around the field and tackling and being supportive, that really helped me a lot in continuing to play for Canada and to open up some eyes for people and that listen, this is someone that can do a job for us, and we're proud to do that. And certainly, again, I was always very fortunate to be complimented by some outstanding players, and I love playing team sports, and rugby is the ultimate team sport. And very fortunate to have a teammates I've had throughout my career.
Excellent. You mentioned your training. So what did you do to train, and what was it like?
Yeah, well, I was pretty naive initially with my training, but as I mentioned, it was certainly cardio. So there was a lot of sprints, a lot of 200s. What we used to do essentially was round the golf, which was introduced to me with the Ottawa Irish. And probably too hard to explain really, but it was essentially jogging around the field to a certain point and then sprinting at the end. And that really helped me, continue my level for cardio. The other thing that also helped was I was constantly as a kid, I was always out playing sports. There wasn't a lot of TV watching. There was a lot of playing sports. And certainly when I went to Hillcrest, I was a member of the hockey team initially, and then the basketball team when I grew quite a bit more. And I certainly credit Lauren Lennox, which was my also another phys ed teacher there, who was my basketball coach, and then later Mr. Harris. Mr. Lennox certainly introduced a lot more cardio stuff, and that really put me at I wouldn't say it was the elite level, but it got me on the road to being elite. And that I always had a passion for doing cardio and making sure that I was around the field. And once you start making a name for yourself, people start looking at you, and you want to be able to live up to the standards and live up to your responsibilities. And my responsibility was to get around the field. I knew that's what got me my opportunity. So I always worked hard on that, whether it was jogging, sprinting, a lot of bike work. Certainly as I got older, a lot of bike work, and then as my knees got worse and worse, more swimming or running in the water. But I always focused a lot on my cardio. I had natural strength, but looking back on things, I should have probably been in a more disciplined weight program as far as strengthening goes. But I guess I would like to say I used my size well, but I probably could have been a little bit stronger.
All right. Now, how did it feel being inducted into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame as well as the International Rugby Hall of Fame?
Well, it was an amazing honor. It's something that you certainly don't think about. I got into playing rugby because I really enjoyed it, and I was fortunate that I moved up as things progressed. But going into those halls, you certainly remember your career stuff. But I got in there again based on my teammates. Rugby is the ultimate team sport, and there's no way I get into those positions to show myself well without my teammates doing their job. And certainly, I think they complimented me very well, and I complimented them. But they certainly helped me understand the game and play the style I wanted to play. And that goes for players, my teammates, right from the get-go in high school to club to area to provincial and certainly at the national team level, and then ultimately at the professional level as well.
Awesome. So what would you say is your favorite thing about the sport? You mentioned it being the ultimate team sport, but is there anything else that you find is just absolutely amazing about it?
Well, listen, it's a sport where you get to run with the ball, you get to tackle people with the ball, so you're playing offense and defense. Difference between rugby and football. So you can get, there's a lot of travel with rugby. the competitiveness, certainly the social aspect of rugby is great. I can count on my unbelievable amount of the people that I know that around the world, around the country, that were either teammates or opponents that I can call friends. And if I was to show up in New Zealand, there'd be a whole handful of people that I could call and go see, and would be glad to see me. And I think they'd be glad to see me, but I certainly would be glad to see them. It's a great sport that opens up so many doors. And I was always told that, and I certainly saw that throughout my career. Just the opportunities that you get from playing the sport. I've traveled right across the country, right across the world. Got to play professionally overseas. Got to tour and see countries that, I'm pretty sure a lot of my friends who don't play rugby would not have been able to see. I've been to places like Tonga, Fiji, Samoa, New Zealand, Australia, Argentina, Uruguay, all over Europe, all across Canada, all across the United States. So very fortunate in that way. And I think those are things that are really interesting about the sport. But certainly the people you get to, the players you play against, players you play with, the supporters, people involved in the sport, whether coaching, administrating, physios, doctors, just some fantastic people. You're introducing yourself to just different people and different personalities. So I can't say enough about the sport, and I always recommend it highly to anyone to give it a go. You don't have to play at the highest level to find enjoyment in the sport.
All right. Now, as someone who captained the Canadian rugby team, did you ever have to deal with conflict within the team, and did you or your team work? How did your team work to overcome the internal conflict?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it was an honor to be a captain of the Canadian side. Certainly some great captains came before me, and I took their example, try to live and play appropriately and lead by example on the training field and on the field of play in matches. Yeah, but there certainly is some things that will creep up. There's different personalities, right? There's different egos. There's different life experiences with every player. And I'm not going to paint a rosy picture that every teammate is an unbelievable teammate, because everyone has their positives and their negatives. I certainly have my positives and negatives, and so there's plus points and there's minus points, and sometimes you just got to deal with those things. There's always the problems dealing with selection. A lot of it, you have to understand at the national level, a lot of these players that end up playing on the national team have been there. Some of the best players to have played for their school team, or their club team, or their provincial team, and come to the national level and perhaps not get selected to start, or not even selected to be on the bench. It's a blow sometimes, and sometimes you got to massage personalities and egos. Listen, not being picked is obviously disappointing. And sometimes people take it the right way, sometimes people don't. Sometimes you have to deal with that. As a team, there's always, some bitching and complaining about this or that, whether it be potentially refereeing or how we're being dealt with, what hotel we're staying at. You just got to try to sort those things out and try to get the players in the best state of mind mentally, and certainly state physically to play and represent your country. And that was my job. Most of the time, the guys were really good. I would say it was a real tough go. 2003 was tough for a bunch of different reasons. I won't go into it right now, but that was stressful for me. I felt coming off injury and being a captain, I felt kind of like I was a babysitter in some aspects in regards to some of the issues that there is issues with the coaching, there's issues with the management, there's issues with the head office at Rugby Canada. So it certainly tested me and my abilities to try to do what was best for the team and for Canada. But I'll leave it at that.
You mentioned in 03 coming off of a bad injury. Could you tell us a bit about some of the bad injuries you got and how you recovered from them?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate that, I mean, I've had some injuries. A lot of them came at the tail end of my career, and I guess that's because my body was telling me it's time to give it up and we were breaking down. But I always had a bad knee. Everyone thinks that my knee problem stemmed from rugby, but my knee problem stemmed from the way I treated my body as a youngster, and I didn't listen to everyone who said that you're going to regret this as you get older. And I came to learn what they meant. But when you're younger, you're foolish and you got this Superman complex thinking that I'll be all right. I have to say, though, I was fortunate that even if I did get injured, I was always quick to heal, whatever the injury was. One of my first major injury was a really bad dislocation in my shoulder, which should have kept me out for much longer than it did. I came back 2 months early from that, or a month and a half early. And then my knee problems that traveled me right through my career. I've never had major knee injuries, but that certainly came in my last year of playing for Canada in 2003. So I tore my ACL, MCL, and my meniscus. I believe it was end of May, got operated in June. I was back playing, back training by July back into just August. We had a training camp for the World Cup into September, and played our first game for Canada, I think late September, October. So I think I came back in 4.5 months from that major knee surgery. So that was probably my proudest moment as far as coming back from an injury. Took a lot of hard work. I was not only training to be cardio fit, but trying to get my knee right. I was 3 or 4 times a day for a long period of time. So owe a lot to the surgeon and certainly the physios, my wife, everyone around me that pushed me. And, that was very big accomplishment for me to make the side, because this was going to be my last kick of the can for play for Canada in the World Cup. I was going to be the captain, and the knee injury came out of the blue. So to have such a major injury, I thought my dream of playing in my last World Cup, and that's a captain in Australia, was over. But thanks to a lot of great work by physios and my surgeon and coaches giving me a chance to make the squad, my teammates supporting me, I made it. So that was a big one for me. The other injury that I had, broke my wrist a couple times. My shoulder, which I mentioned before, held good for about 5 years, and then it started to sublux. So that would happen during the course of the game. That was painful at times. And then the thing that people don't think about a lot is concussions. I had a lot of concussions, and I didn't treat them like I should have. Knowing what I know today, I would have done things differently. And I would say to anyone who's listening out there, listen to your body a lot better than some of the numbskulls like myself who came before you. Brain injury is something that's been taken seriously, and we have seen the effects of how it's either cost someone their life, or certainly cost them their quality of life. And just to listen to your body, listen to the recommendations, don't try to be a hero, and treat a concussion as seriously as you would any other major injury to your body. if not more. So.
All right. Now, you touched on all of your hard work and dedication to the sport. What do you think is the most important thing that got you noticed by the national team?
Can you repeat that, Ryan? Sorry?
Sorry, what got you noticed by the national team?
Well, I think earlier I said the thing that I got noticed was that I was a big man that got around the field quite well. I don't think my speed off the mark was the best. And again, if I was to look back on things, I should have done a better job of working on that. But it wasn't bad. It just wasn't really. My speed was very good once I got going. A long stride. But I was very hungry to be around the action. Games change a bit now with more of a defensive system, but I used to play either second row or back row. And when I played second row, I go around the field like a back row. And so I think that really helped the team. But I think selectors would have noticed that I got around the field. And when I got to the action, the breakdown, I was doing effective things. A lot of times people will pick out, my highlights of scoring tries. Well, I wasn't known for scoring tries, and certainly that wasn't what I was looking to do. What I was looking to do was to do whatever I could to help the team win. And a lot of that was tackling, getting around the field, tackling, whether it be a fly half or a winger. I just love the aspect of tackling. So I think I got noticed for that. And I don't think my passing skills were necessarily the best, but catching skills were good. My hand-eye coordination was very good. I didn't make a lot of noticeable errors. Not to say I didn't make errors. I certainly did. I missed tackles and I dropped balls here and there. But I think, the errors didn't necessarily cost us, and I didn't make a lot of them. And if I did, believe me, you wouldn't have found a more pissed off person than myself if I did something that cost our team an opportunity to score or an opportunity in any way. So I was very much motivated by performing well for my teammates, doing as well as I could for the coaches who had the trust and faith to select me, for the supporters watching, whether it be on video or watching it live. I didn't want to make a fool of myself, and I wanted to help our team hopefully win. So very competitive, very, very motivated to be around the action. If you're going to train hard to play a sport, then you might as well be out there and showing the goods. I've certainly seen players in other sports, and certainly in rugby, where they're really fit, really fast, strong, but sometimes in the course of the game, you say, where was this person? Not really showing, he or she's not really showing the fitness that she shows on the training field. And I think that was a gainer. I think my teammates were happy when I took the field with them, because they knew what they're going to get. It wasn't the prettiest. I had a terrible gait in my run. My shirt was untucked, my socks were down my ankles. That wasn't pretty to watch and not pretty to look at now. Never have been. But I'd like to think I got the job done, and I'd like to think I had the confidence of my teammates and my coaches.
Excellent. So what was it like to play in South Africa in the World Cup, and especially later on having your game be featured in the movie Invictus?
Yeah, well, we weren't actually featured in Invictus. I was kind of crossing my fingers and hoping we were. I think we were just mentioned that we were one of South Africa's pool matches. The World Cup in South Africa was fantastic. We weren't sure what we were coming into. South Africa was back into the international arena as far as playing sports after apartheid. That they got award, the World Cup was a huge thing. Not that South Africa was new to rugby. We've been playing rugby forever. If they had been involved, they would have been in the 87, 91 World Cup. But as it was, they came back into the fold in 95, and they were an unbelievable side. And they went on to win '95 World Cup, but it was a tough pool for Canada, almost an unfair pool based on how well we had played in the '91 World Cup in the quarterfinals. But we were ranked 8th going into that World Cup. Based on the seedings how it goes, it'd be 1-8. So we got the defending World Cup champions in Australia, and then we got South Africa, which got slotted in as a 9th ranked side, which they weren't. They were top 3 in the world at the time. So it was a tough draw for Canada. But we also had Romania. We played well against Romania. We ended up beating Romania by a larger margin than South Africa and Australia did. Played in Australia somewhat tough. The scoreline was probably closer than it was. I think we ended up losing by 15 or 20, but it was a much tighter game than that. And we had to play South Africa, so we had to beat South Africa just to hopefully replicate what we had done in the '91 World Cup, which was make the quarterfinals. And that was going to be a tough one to do to beat South Africa in South Africa in the World Cup. South Africa being rugby being a very popular sport in South Africa. That's the other thing you have to remember also, that not just people in the rugby community know about rugby in Canada. It's not a massively popular sport in Canada. I'm not sure where it necessarily ranks, but it's certainly in the top 10 right now for them. It may well be for women. But in other parts of the world, certainly rugby is a more popular sport than we find it here. It's either 1, 2, or certainly in the top 5 of all the sport in other countries. So, whether it be the UK or South Africa, New Zealand, Fiji, some countries it's a national sport. But yeah, playing in South Africa was fantastic. It was a really cool experience. I wish we could have done better in that game. Again, the scoreline was 20-0, but it was a tighter game than that. Once we got behind, we had to push for tries, and so we turned up some opportunities to kick for goal that would have given us points on the board, but ultimately we wanted to allow us to get back in the game and achieve our goal of winning. As it was, we got goose egg, but full credit to South Africa. Their defense was amazing. People seem to only remember the brawl that took place in that game. The unfortunate part is that it was a very good game of rugby. The brawl tends to take precedent about that. It was a great experience. My wife came over to watch it, and a lot of the wives and girlfriends came over. It was really cool to meet the people of South Africa, and I guess the whole experience was great. And played in 4 World Cups. I'm not sure I could say which one was the best, but South Africa was an eye-opener to me. And we'd love to go back once more with Canada, but I'd love to go back again too and see that country.
All right. Now, as your time as captain or playing against these higher ranked teams like South Africa, what would you say is the most valuable thing you learned during your time as a rugby player?
Well, on paper, generally, there's a team that's favored and there's a team that's the underdog, and I don't mind being the underdog. I relish that, in fact. But with the idea that the game isn't won on paper, the game is won on the field, and you got to go show yourself. And when Canada has been able to knock off sides that are better than us, and a lot of times we're playing sides that are better than us, and to get that win is so rewarding. It's a great experience, and it just goes to show you that anyone on the day can win. Now, unfortunately, sometimes there are games where it just doesn't come to pass. It doesn't, all the moves don't align for you to win. A lot of things go into play to win test matches, and it's harder and harder, I'd say, nowadays. Rugby, when I first started playing for Canada and first started playing in high school, it was an amateur sport. We went professional after the World Cup in South Africa in 1995. That changed things a lot. It's been in some ways helped Canada, and it also has hindered Canada in some ways as well. It's just gotten bigger and bigger, and pro rugby is it's gotten a lot more profile. It's now here in North America. It's good to see. We have one side in Canada at the Toronto Arrows. They're doing a great job, and hopefully it's going to produce some great players and certainly mold players for the national team to come. But you know, playing for Canada is an absolute honor for me to represent the country in any sport. And the athlete will tell you is the ultimate. And I didn't take it lightly. And I mean, even when I was out there playing for Canada, I was representing my country, I was representing my city, I was representing my father, I was representing my family, my teammates. So it taught me to try my hardest, give it your all, be a good winner, be a good loser, find ways to win next time.
You mentioned hoping that Canada's rugby community grows. What are you doing today to stay involved in the rugby community, both locally and on a larger scale?
Well, I work for Rugby Canada. Well, right now I'm on furlough, unfortunately. I won't go into details on that, but it's I've always been a strong proponent of the sport of rugby, whether it's at the local level or what have you. I help promote sport where I can. Do interviews like this. I speak at schools, I speak at clubs, active on social media. A lot of people write to me looking for advice on what they can do to get better or what they think they should do in their next steps. Happy to do that. Always, you know, happy to push someone along in the right direction, and there's some great kids out there and looking to climb up the ladder. And but as I mentioned earlier, I don't think you need to play at the national level, or I think you just try to, you know, have lofty goals, but have attainable goals as well. But just enjoy your sport, whatever it may be, whether it's rugby or what have you. Just, you know, give it your best in your training and when you're competing, and that's all that you can expect of yourself, and that's all your teammates and your coaches can expect of you. But it's got to be your true 100%. You know, there's a lot that goes into giving your 100%, and that's your preparation in advance of that, you know, game. So if you have a game on Saturday, it's not good enough to start eating properly on a Friday or sleeping, only getting a good night's rest the night before, or not hydrating properly, not visualizing and doing stuff. It's doing all those things in the lead up to a game on Saturday that allows you to give your true 100%, not the 100% of what's left over from not getting your body and your mind prepared to compete properly. Let's not do. If you don't do that, you're not giving yourself or your team proper shot of your true 100%. So I love to talk to kids. I love to help out coaching. I wouldn't say I'm a head coach type of person. I like to assist. When people ask me to come out, I like to do that when it's convenient, when it's a possibility. I was doing a lot of traveling when I was working for Rugby Canada. I also owe a lot to my wife and my family to give some time to them for a long time. You know, probably from the age of 18 till I was 37. If there was rugby on it, my weekends would comprise with rugby. So since I've retired, I've taken some steps back from that. Not to say that I'm still not involved with rugby in one manner or the other. I do a lot of fundraising for Rugby Canada. goodwill ambassador type roles. Here on a local level, I'm part of the executive of the Old Boys with my old club, the Ottawa Irish. So happy to try to get back involved with them and get back the Ottawa Irish back into the club that it once was. It is still a great club, it just needs a little bit of fine tuning. And so I work behind the scenes doing that with a lot of my ex-teammates and good friends. And at the same time, help out where I can, donate where I can, and promote the sport and let people know how great it is. And hopefully we'll continue to play it and enjoy it and find the passion and enjoyment that I get.
Excellent. You're clearly very much still involved in the community, and that was some amazing advice for any up-and-coming rugby players. We are unfortunately at the end of our time, so thank you so much, Al, for your time answering all those questions. You're an inspiration and honestly a great example of Hillcrest athletes.
Thank you very much for that. I really enjoyed my time at Hillcrest. I enjoyed my time there. I had some great teachers, made some great friends, great memories. Very, very grateful for the opportunity that Hillcrest gave me. I'm very grateful to be a resident of Ottawa, a Canadian citizen. As much as I've seen some unbelievably great places around the world, let it be known to everyone that Canada, if you haven't had a chance to travel, we're very fortunate to be living in a country like Canada, and the opportunities that we have. So the one thing I failed to mention, and if I have time, I'll just pass it along, is I really think one of the biggest honors, my highlight was to represent Canada and be able to sing or poorly sing or mouth the words or sing it in my head the national anthem, wearing the Canadian jersey, representing Canada in the international arena. And if there is one thing I wish that everyone who's Canadian would have the opportunity to do, would be to represent Canada in some form or fashion, whatever sport, whatever arts, or as a diplomat or a politician, an actor, or what have you, a soldier, to stand on guard to listen to the national anthem and represent your country's colors on you. That's huge, and it's something I take great pride in, and get very emotional about.
Excellent. Do you have a Twitter or anything that you want to share with us that people can?
Yeah, I do. So I am active on social media. And I have a few prizes. So anyone who follows me and retweets something which I'll post about this session, anyone who retweets that I'll do a arbitrary pick of one of the retweets. And I got a few things here. I got a couple of T-shirts, a cinch bag, different sizes. So and I'll arbitrarily pick that out. So give me a follow, but certainly give a follow to Rugby Canada. Give a follow to our women's team, our men's team. One thing I didn't mention is how strong our women's team is, both in 15s and 7s. Both our 7 teams are men and women. If the Olympics should take place this summer, are going there to hopefully win a medal. Our women's team, as many people know, won the bronze in Brazil, and they hope to medal again and hopefully improve on that. And we certainly have the team and the athletes to do that. And our 15th team, unfortunately for the women's, their World Cup in New Zealand was postponed until next year. They will go into the World Cup, probably the top 5 in the world, with a good chance to do very well and perhaps win. So our men's 15th team has struggled in recent years, but there's a lot of our programs that have done very well, and hopefully we'll continue to do so, and we'll see our men's team do better as well. So please give Rugby Canada a follow, give rugby a shot. whether it's touch or tackle, it's a great sport, and you'll get a chance to experience perhaps some traveling, but introduction to all kinds of different people, and open your eyes to new opportunities and enjoy a great sport.
All right. Well, on behalf of the NCSSAA, we really appreciate you speaking to us with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure, and great job, both Ryan and Tim. And for those who don't know, Ryan's father, actually, I first started playing rugby with Ryan's father at the Hillcrest back in the day. So back when I had hair on my head and on my face, but that's the only place where I can grow it right now.
Yeah.
Amazing.